This is the story of the father of gender identity, John Money. John William Money was born in New Zealand on July 8th, 1921. In 1947, at the age of 26, Money immigrated to the United States to study psychiatry at the University of Pittsburgh and earned his PhD from Harvard University in 1952. Money proposed and developed several theories related to the topics of gender identity and gender roles. He coined terms as gender role and introduced the term sexual orientation in place of sexual preference, arguing that the attraction is not necessarily a matter of free choice. John Money became obsessed and did multiple experiments trying to figure out, are you really born this way, being a boy or a girl? Or is it really a social construct that you can create the idea that someone, a child, is a boy or a girl? So he did an experiment on two twin boys. And this is their story. 1967, two twin boys was born in Ontario, Brian and Bruce Reimer, but they had a condition that the foreskin on their penis did not allow them to be able to urinate. The twins' parents went to go get them circumcised. The first one to go was Bruce. However, his went terribly wrong. You see, usually in a circumcision, they use a scalpel, but in his particular case, they decided to burn the tissue. And that was the first mistake. Bruce's penis was burnt beyond repair. In 1967, the Reimers sought after a doctor that could help their son. After the botched circumcision, they had no idea how to move forward. So they found a doctor, all right, in John Money. See, John Money gave them the idea that what would be best for their son is to now just raise him as a girl. He told the parents that he's done this multiple times because back then, when they had a child that was now what we called intersex, this was the practice that he did on other children. The parents agreed and decided to raise their boy as a girl. The doctors at Johns Hopkins removed Reimer's testes and damaged penis and constructed a vagina that would take its place. Bruce became Brenda, and he was not told what he was born, a biological male. He received estrogen during adolescence to promote the development of breast. The twin boys was also part of Money's research on sexual development and gender in children. As identical twins growing up in the same family, the Reimer brothers were what Money called a brilliant idea to do his research. So now going by Brenda, this would be the first documented case of sexual reassignment in children that had no developmental issues and that was considered normal. And because Brenda had a twin brother, the brother was going to be a case study because they shared identical DNA. During the twin psychiatric visits with Money, as a part of his research, Reimer and his twin brother was directed to inspect one another's genitalia and engage in behavior resembling sexual intercourse. Reimer claimed that much of Money's treatment involved the forced reenactment of sexual positions and motions with his brother. In some exercises, the brothers rehearsed missionary positions with thrusting motions, which Money justified as the rehearsal of healthy children's sexual exploration. Now, by all accounts, John Money specified that his case study was a success and what he thought all along was correct, that it doesn't matter how a child is born, that gender is a social construct. So you can actually create a boy or girl, definitely within the first 2 years of their lives. And the effect of those case study notes that said that it was a success, well, that was also the justification of doing thousands of sex reassignment surgeries on children that had abnormal genitalia. Contrary to what John Money said in his notes, Brenda became extremely frustrated and started reporting severe gender dysphoria, which is a condition in which someone experienced distress as a result of their assigned gender. It was then in 1980, at 15, the twins' father decided to tell the truth about his birth and the procedure. Following that revelation, Reimer resumed his male identity, dropped the name Brenda, and started going by David. At the age of 21, David received testosterone therapy and surgeries to remove his breast and reconstruct a penis. In adulthood now, he seemed to be getting a little bit more comfortable in becoming the man that he knew he always was, even getting married to a woman. Now in the mid-90s, things did take a different turn. David found out that John Money was using his name still as a success story and a justification for continuously doing sexual reassignment surgeries on children. This time he decided to speak out. David met with Milton Diamond, a psychologist at the University of Hawaii, who is also an academic rival of John Money. In 1997, David Reimer began to speak publicly about his experiences, beginning with his participation in Diamond's study. In interviews and later a book about his experiences, he described his interactions with Money as torturous and abusive. According to David, he claimed he developed a lifelong distrust of hospitals and medical professionals. John Money publicly dismissed the criticism as it being anti-feminist and anti-trans biases. As a kid, I remember watching different interviews that David was on, and one particular one, probably one of his biggest ones, was when he was on Oprah.
For years, this case was called a medical triumph, but in truth, the case was a failure, devastating the lives of just about everybody involved. This is David, who has remained anonymous until now, only known in the medical journals as John Joan. And this is Janet Reimer, David's mother, who made the agonizing decision to change the sex of her son and to raise him as a girl. And what you all at home didn't see during the taping of that piece, we could tell, Janet, you're, moved and probably disturbed by what you're saying. And David, you comfort her.
Yes, she's hurting right now. Mothers are all over the world are all alike. There's guilt. It's darned if you do and darned if you don't. Mm-hmm. What things that were done out of compassion, out of love for your child. Mm-hmm. And how can I hate my mother for that?
Mm-hmm. Did you think he would hate you?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Did you hate yourself?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you talk on the tape about the day you first put the dress on. Did you have agonizing feelings about it even when the doctor, or were you of that generation or kind of person when the doctor said this would be best? Did you all believe that it would be best?
Yes, I had complete faith in the doctor. Mm-hmm. I believed it would be best. But when he started to rip it off, I started to have doubts. Mm-hmm. And during the whole journey of trying to create a feminine being, there were doubts along the way, but I couldn't afford to contemplate them because I couldn't afford to be wrong. I couldn't have faced the alternative.
And the alternative being what? That you'd made this horrible mistake?
Yes.
Because then what could you do?
Right.
Since your earliest memories, you never felt like you were a boy, a girl?
I never quite fit in. Well, the girls would do their things with their Barbies and things like that, and that wouldn't interest me. Mm-hmm. And things such as trucks and building forts and, getting to the odd fist fight and climbing trees. That's the kind of stuff that I like, but it was unacceptable, so I'd never...
As a girl?
As a girl, I had no place to fit in.
So what would you say to David, who was then your daughter? What would you say to him when he would act out his maleness?
I would try and convince him that he was doing it because he was a tomboy, and that it was okay to be himself, or herself, I would say at the time. It was okay to be herself, but she was very much a tomboy.
I tried to fit in. I tried with the makeup, and it turned out to be a disaster. I mean, you got the red circles on the cheeks, and I look like a clown, basically. And but I didn't do it because I liked it. I did it because I wanted so desperately to fit in because I was so lonely. And I let one boy kiss me on my cheek once, and I thought about it. I said, no, I don't like this. I can't help that. I am what I am.
Did you feel you when you say I am what I am, but you didn't know what that was?
I wasn't sure.
And while watching these interviews, I remember feeling so hopeful that they had found the healing and they were able to move on. And then just somehow everything was right in the world or right in their lives. But unfortunately, that's not the case with the twins. There's no telling what mental anguish this entire family had to go through, and particularly David, because not only was it mentally, but physically. David reported that in his 20s, he tried to commit suicide twice. He also stated that as an adult, his family was so strained with marital problems and employment difficulties that his brother, David's twin, who suffered from depression and schizophrenia, died from an antidepressant drug overdose in July 2002. 2 years later, on May 2nd, 2004, David would also meet his demise when he took a gun and decided to use it and commit suicide as well. This is absolutely an American horror story. And for us to continuously think that we can play God and that changing, cutting off, castrating your body can make you into something that you're not ever going to be. And there's no resting in that. And the stories of people now thinking that our kids should be allowed to have reassignment surgery and get on hormones, even without the permission of their parents, thinking that that is the cure-all for what a lot of people will call a mental illness. We're fooling ourselves. And the suppression of all the stories coming out of children wanting and adults wanting to detransition, and the stories of people now suing their doctors of doing something they don't think that they was even ready for, and now for a whole life they are changed. This is a story that needs to be told, and it's unfortunate that his life was taken too soon, because I know that he would have been out front and outspoken about the truth. You can't change biology.
Say to Dr. Money, I would like to ask him if he could be man enough to admit to the public and to even to himself that he made a mistake. He was trying to make history, and it wasn't working.
As it became clear that it wasn't working, he could not let go of the case.